What's Gobbin' Gobbos? We're looking at interesting spots across 14 different Battlefield 3 maps. Let's get started with a classic, Caspian Border.
Here's one of my favorite areas in Caspian Border, is around the D point, which is up on that rock. We have this lush forest area right next to this babbling brook. And then we got some sun shining over here. The birds chirping, the wind. Something I didn't really remember looking at all these maps is just how much the trees sway. And it begs the question, how strong is this wind to be pushing the trees this much? Or how weak are these trees? Because the wind doesn't sound that strong, but they do seem to be dancing around a lot. And of course, the infamous brightest sun in the world. I think, look at this. This is crazy. But looking through these maps, I've kind of noticed I have a little bit of a nature bias. And I think for the most part it's always interesting how a nature environment is portrayed on a digital medium. But to me, this just seems way more fun to explore than, say, a factory that is the same layout in multiple maps. This is a unique thing in Caspian Border. I mean, there are other maps of streams and rivers, but you don't have it like this. So it feels like more effort went into making this kind of area. What am I supposed to do with the rest of the map when really talking about this? Because this is just nothing. It's just flat and dirt. Then we just got fields and beautiful JPEG mountains, which does get remedied in the DLC. They start adding 3D mountains, which is a huge technological advancement. Ocean Canals actually features fog, which is cool. It's nowhere in the playable area, unfortunately, but they do have fog on the outskirts, and you can see this little grove over here. It looks really cool with the fog and the sunlight. And exploring all these maps, there's no rain maps. This map has darker clouds than the other one, but even with this, it's pretty lackluster as compared to Battlefield 2, where they didn't have rain, but they're still able to have lightning striking in the clouds. You can tell they put extra effort into this map because a lot of these assets are unique. They're not reused any other map, especially these tiles. These tiles are pretty nice because you can see how they reflect the light on individual pieces and create that shiny effect. And also these train carts are unique. We do not see these ever reused, and I kind of like the train cart ambience. It's really chill. It seems like a nice place you could take a nap. So an interesting little detail I found on Operation Metro is there's an explosion, an ambient explosion that makes all the lights flicker. Destructible lights, it doesn't seem like they actually don't break. They just start flickering. Oh, that one breaks. An interesting thing I realized is if you think of the two mascot maps of Battlefield 3 from the vanilla map pool, I would say it's Operation Metro and Caspian Border. And when you look at them, they have the most unique areas. Like this room is never reused. This is a unique room design. Of course, these computers are the same, but that's fine. Super shiny glass. I've not seen this in any other map. These story buildings, which are used in every Middle Eastern map in Battlefield 3, they look something like this. This one doesn't really make much sense because you got Johnny's Mini Mart, but also Tiger Beauty Salon. I guess it's both, but there's not enough space to have both. There's no way to open doors, so you just gotta shoot through. And you got some supplies on the shelves. This is what their mart looks like. We got immersive destruction though, as food pops out when you shoot the boxes. But they did make it so these milk cartons have their own milk explosion, which is cool. And then you can go upstairs, and that's where we can imagine that this is where the owners sleep. Nice rug, a little stained, a little dirty, but we can assume that they had to get out in a hurry as this is a war zone now. And look at that, trash actually goes on the floor when we shoot the trash bags. And we got some orange juice in there. Some Chinese takeout. Yeah, this looks like what I would throw away. Just a bunch of Chinese takeout and orange juice. We also have Tiger Oil Corp. So I guess Tiger is doing oil and they're also doing massages. Thankfully, we do have explosive gas stations. That's always a fun addition. Now I have to give credit where credit is due. In Battlefield 2 on Gulf of Oman, there's a hotel map. This is the hotel, and there was a pool. And I thought it was one of the nicest pools in the game. The Battlefield 3 hotel pool is vastly improved. They still kept the bright turquoise color, which really stands out in this desert map. But this one's even brighter. It's like almost glowing. It's like radioactive. Even the water itself seems kind of radioactive. You can see the turquoiseness, and then it kind of morphs into a radioactive green over here. And it's this really cool shader effect on this water. And it's a way better height. I think it could be filled up a little more, but you can actually go swimming and it's not awkwardly too low. This one feels just right. Like, yeah, I'm in the pool and then I just go to the ladder because I want to get out. Immersive pool swimming.
And here's a quick little comparison between Strike of Karkand from Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 2 in the exact same areas. Personally, I really like Battlefield 2 more. I like the dusty aesthetic going on. The entire atmosphere is way more intense. It feels like we're in this kind of creepy town that's run down and abandoned, where Battlefield 3, it seems more modern. I personally hate the blue skybox, but other than that, the details are a lot better.
This is Sharkey Peninsula, which if you remember from my Battlefield 2 video, this map has one of my favorite beaches in skyboxes. Again, we're looking at the sky and it's the same generic cloudy blue sky. Let's go look at the sunrise. Not nearly as colorful. And the water is this gross blue-gray color. It's all dark. And they just completely got rid of the beach and replaced it with this dirt road with grass on the side. Still got the palm trees, but nothing is that vibey. This is not a spot I would want to chill. And maybe it was impossible because they just had to make the sun so bright. But let's do a comparison here. Yeah, we still have the pool. For some reason there's like, it's really light over here. I don't really know what's causing that. I guess the sun. It looks like there should be like lights shining on it. And you can see the water is not as cool as the one from Gulf of Oman. It's more murky. You might say, oh, this is just Battlefield 3. That's just the way the color grading is in Battlefield 3. Not true. Not true. And I'll show you. Look at this. See? They had the technology to make pretty skies. This is Bandar Desert. Another one of DLC maps. And the first map that I noticed that they had new shore technology. And look at this. Look how nice this looks. It is a little pixelated, and by little I mean a lot, but I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm a big fan of retro graphics, and I know it doesn't fit into the realistic atmosphere of Battlefield 3, but this looks nice. You see the colors hitting the water too. Wet sand looks good. It's reflecting the sunset. Sparkly sand is kind of weird. It kind of has that chowder texture where it sticks with you, but that's probably just how they designed it. It's my favorite map in the entire game, and it's the only one we're gonna see with a really pretty sunset. And also, it doesn't really use that gross dark blue I was talking about. So it's just odd that they reuse the same skybox. But why didn't they reuse this one in some maps? It's okay to make a map sunsetty. We also have a lot of patches of seagulls. You can see them up there that fly away when you shoot at them. Of course, we have to have construction zones. But this is pretty, and it's just so unfortunate when they have the potential to make pretty maps. And besides the beach, this is the other area I really like on Bandar Desert. It's this kind of suburb-like spot. We got some pools again. Pools are pretty mid, nothing too special. And then we got these unique building assets that we don't see. But unfortunately, there's nothing inside. It's pretty bland, as most of the buildings are. I can go upstairs to the second floor. I don't know if people are moving in or they're leaving. I'm guessing it's a new development since they're still building. Also, you didn't see anything like this in Battlefield 2, but we have sprinkler ambience that only sounds when you get close. And what's really cool, if you stand in front of it and get splashed, it makes a sound. Here's another example how the traditional Battlefield colors ruined the aesthetic of a map. This is Wake Island. The map that I gave the best water in Battlefield 2, the best beach. And we still got the bright sand going on. Not too much of it though, don't get excited. But the Baja Blast water is kind of refined to this one spot right here. Sorry, everything explodes when I leave it. But we still got that turquoise-y kind of. It's more green. It's more slimy garbage green going on right here. And it's just the darkest water in the world. Hey, it feels like swimming out to this, you're just gonna get eaten by a shark. Nothing fun to look at. And the blue sky is not bluing for me. It's, again, we got that dark blue into this, I don't know what to call that. It's just gross and super cloudy. Like, this does not look as good as compared to Battlefield 2 because the colors are just so diluted. And it's a product of the time. That's what a lot of games were doing back then. And I get it, but it is really shocking to look back at these maps after comparing different titles. The sign here. Oh, there are sharks. No swimming, sharks. This is the second only night map in Battlefield 3, Death Valley. It has some interesting ambience. I mean, you just heard that screaming animal. We got an owl over there. And then instead of a glaring sun, we have a glaring moon, which I think is way cooler. I mean, that's a very nice moon quality. It's cool how they made it a full moon. I'm not sure. I'll have to compare if this is a different skybox to Turin Highway. I imagine it is. And it takes place... Dude, that thing's creepy. What is that? It also takes place in a construction zone because everything in this map takes place in a construction zone because they love buildings being constructed. You can go on the top of that. I think it's the same exact model that they use in Gulf of Oman. The cool feature I saw, the whole little design choice, is having these really reflective leaves that are reflecting the moonlight, and you also have the water. I mean, look how bright that is. Kind of crazy. I think these leaves are really cool, how shiny they get. See, that's the kind of artistic detail that I like in maps, when you have these unique features. Like, they could have just made these normal leaves that don't shine, and it just would not have made it as vibey. We also have this giant river that runs right on the outside of the map. I can't cross this line right here without being out of bounds. That was simply there because it's fun to fly jets under the big bridge that goes above it. This is Alborz Mountains. It takes place in the wilderness. One of my favorite maps as well. I really like the design because there's a lot of different elements. We actually have different sounding wind, even though you can hear what I keep describing as that empty wind sound. You also get the weird alien laser sounds from the ice, which is realistic. I'm not an ice expert, but I'm pretty sure ice does make that sound. I forget what causes that sound specifically. But it's cool that they have this frozen part of the lake that starts breaking up. Nothing really happens with the ice when you shoot it. It doesn't have any destruction mechanics, but it is a nice little detail. We got the snowfall. You got these cool little cabin areas, which are unique assets made for this map. This is a really lovely outdoors map for all those nature lovers out there. This is just a great place to hike around in. And this is what I'm talking about, like just a map with a nice feel to it, where all these other maps were industrial zones. This is different. Now, what's really interesting about this map is they have two different parts to it. You have this wooded area that we're driving through right now, but then you can actually go up into the mountains and the terrain starts changing as you get higher. It becomes more snowy, which is really cool how this is just all the same map and there's two environmentally different parts. And what we're driving up to right now is this kind of research facility. Break through this fence. And this is a funny little part. Here's a door, and this was before the invention of opening door mechanics in Battlefield, so you just have to melee them to open it, but your guy's like just superhuman. Just explodes the door with one knife strike. This is insane when you think about it. And then I'll go ahead, because this is a unique building we don't really see in other maps, this kind of research building. But again, the unfortunate part is that interiors are just really lackluster. Sorry, that's the car exploding. Because when we go inside, it's pretty much empty. Also, it has immersion breaking snow coming through the walls. And we just have these boring computers. Doesn't even explode. But I remember this being a really fun map to snipe on because you could hide in these rocks and shoot people coming along the path. A lot of freedom in the traversal around these maps, and you can't really go wrong with a snow map. And real quickly, I just want to mention this map. This is Sabalan Pipeline. There's the pipeline, Sabalan, right there. But this is the other snow map from the DLC expansions, and this one's a little different than Alborz Mountains because it's only snow, and also it's a lot more white. This is a whiteout map. It is insanely white. We have the glaring sun once again too, and it's really cool because you have these more vegetative areas that you're fighting in, and you can see how just like the trees are just covered in snow. Everything's covered in snow. And it's a little different than the snow in Alborz Mountains because this map is just way more covered as the entire map is purely snow. You have this cool little effect on the roads. I like this map when it first came out. The ambience is a little different. Of course, we have this really dark sky going on, which is not that appealing, but I love how white everything is. It's really cool looking and stands out from the other maps, and the ambience is very pleasant. We have that really quiet wind. It's not the spacey wind that we see in the other maps, and everything just feels a lot more silent, which makes sense because there's snow everywhere and snow captures sound really well. Last but not least, we have the Close Quarters expansion. This was the set of DLC maps that took place in smaller maps. But because, and I hate to say this, but because of the reduced size of the map, they were able to put in more details throughout the map, which makes it way more interesting to explore. So these last three maps were actually my favorite maps to look at because there's actually stuff to look at. Because we don't have to worry about the ugly, cloudy skybox and dull colors as we get to go inside. And look at that. Doors that open that we don't have the knife. That's game changing. Now, the cool thing about this map that we're going to notice is a lot of these things are destructible. And that's normal, you know, glass break and whatever. But look at this. We got food. These are new food models that we've not seen. And we could break this glass and watch what happens when you shoot the food. They have their own little animations of exploding. Unfortunately, you can't shoot it more than once. But I think that's so cool. So you could understand, like, if you're in a firefight, how there's just food going everywhere as you're shooting things. Unfortunately, not everything is too advanced. These cups just disappear, and it's just has glass that's way too big. But then look at something like this flower pot. It breaks off into segments as you shoot it. That is so cool. We don't see that on any other maps. And you can tell that they made this map to have crazy firefights because they had all this glass and everything breaks. Even the chairs get holes in them. So after a round, the map just completely changes as everything starts breaking. And then these chairs have different segments. The table can break. So cool. Now here's another specific area we can walk into. This was the bathroom of this office building. And the toilets can break, revealing the inner workings. Break that part. The mirrors, pretty lackluster. You can see it's just like a box of a JPEG inside the room. This is before mirror technology. But really good braking mechanics. I really like how shiny the mirror is. when it shatters. And then a really cool part is that all these tiles you see, they explode, which is a little intense. I don't know what they're packing into this pistol. But you can see how a firefight in here would be insane, as all the tiles are shattering. It's not open. Next in the close quarters map, we have Donya Fortress. And the first area I want to show, unfortunately, we can't open doors again. And we can't even knife this door. You actually have to... I guess that door's open, but... you can break off sections of the door instead of just exploding the whole thing. This is a really cool centerpiece. I really like this area. You have this little gazebo going on with still water and leaves, and you have this kind of like green water, which is unique to this map. A really nice lush spot to chill in. Trees planted. And I remember the cool thing, what they showed off in this map is like all these wood parts have individual pieces, which was the big selling point of the close quarters. Like there's just so much destruction of these smaller objects that we didn't get in any other map. And this is a really cool spot. There's this little library right here, and you have these different kind of lanterns that when you shoot, they explode in the fire. And they stay lit the rest of the game. This fire doesn't go out. And they also have this crazy animation going on in the sky. We'll have to wait for it, but there's these jets that are in a dogfight, and sometimes you get like a giant plane flying through. And making our way through this underground section, it takes us to this room I almost liked. It's this pool room. It has the really cool effect of water being reflected onto the walls, which I love this effect. But something, I talked about this a little bit earlier, something I really don't like that the designers did was they made so many areas under construction. Like, I understand it's a war zone. I just think this pool room would have been more cool if it was in a pristine condition and the soldiers fighting like tore it up as they were shooting each other. But there's all these cracks in the ceiling, there's debris everywhere inside the pool, there's ladders and work lights. I don't know why they felt the need to make, and you see this throughout a lot of the maps, they felt the need to have things be under construction. Who's this dude? I don't think they had to do that. I think it would have been cool if it was just in, I could see this being the way it is. I think this is fine. But I don't know why they had to make this really interesting looking pool room be cracked up and under construction. Again, you know, it's a designer's choice. They had a vision, whatever, but this too, I mean, this I can kind of see adds some more cover instead of being wide open, and it would have looked just as cool if everything was intact. Like, what if they had pillars there that when you shot, they exploded if you shot explosives at them? This is a cool ceiling piece that I'm looking at. The last map we're going to look at from the game and from the close quarters expansion is Ziba Tower. Got this helicopter flying around. We assume it's the police. Instead of a bright sun, we just have that guy. And this is a pretty neat map. This was an iconic map, I would say. I think a lot of people liked Ziba Tower. It's really fun to fight this map. And I want to start off with this little dining area because we finally get some interesting ambience. You can sort of hear it in the background, but you have this kind of meditative music playing that I imagine is playing through the speakers, as this is supposed to be like a chill dining experience in here. We have these cool little lamps that are from the shoot. They kind of pop. Painting physics, nice. A bonsai tree. Who doesn't love a bonsai tree? We do get these rows of drinks that are fun. You can imagine shooting someone behind the counter. They all kind of explode. We have this really nice pool room. This is the best pool in Battlefield that we've seen so far. Look at this. It's only knee deep. First of all, you can crouch in it and still not go under. But we have this nice lighting on the bottom. Can't break those lights. A pristine pool room, no debris or destruction anywhere. This is what I was talking about that we needed. I love the colors. We got the whites and the purple wall is really fun. And then what's interesting about this, we have these showers, and if you shoot the knob to turn the shower on, it turns on. Isn't that cool? You can take a little shower, get rinsed off. Strangely enough, you don't get the sprinkle effects on your eyes like the other water does, but it still makes the noise. But that's pretty much it. I mean, everything else is pretty standard, you know. TV explodes, pot spray, chairs explode, everything explodes. And I don't think there's any other unique items that we can look at. Just really cool map designs, and unfortunately, I hate to say the CQC maps were the best.